Hey guys, it's me again. After a very long break, I have finally returned. And the reason I've been away for such a long time is, well, for two primary reasons. One, I was away for 4 weeks. I was on a trip, and I didn't have access to my 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 models, so I couldn't record any reviews. I didn't have access to my tripod or anything like that, so I couldn't really film anything. And when I came back, I was bombarded by schoolwork, so I really could not record anything at all. I didn't have time to record. But now, I got a little bit of free time, so I'm gonna try to record a video. And I figured, for my return, I should probably do something a little bit special. And that is a review of the Brickmania Panther AUSF.G tank. So I suppose we should, before we talk about the actual model itself, we should probably talk about the history of the tank. So the Panther AUSF.G was a German medium tank developed, well, the Panther itself was developed, the development began in 1942. And basically this tank was developed, just like the Tiger, it was developed basically to sort of respond to what the Allies had. You know, the Soviets had the T-34, the KV-1 and 2s, and the Allies were starting to get pretty decent tanks that could take out the Germans, because the Germans, up until then, had no real good tanks to take out any of the armor that the Allies had, because they had the Panzer 1 through 4. The Panzer 1 and 2 were light tanks. They couldn't really do anything to Allied armor. The Panzer 3 was really the only... it was the German tank developed for killing other tanks. Sure, they had the Panzer IV, but that was more of an infantry support style vehicle in the early stages of the war, because it had a low velocity gun. The Panzer III was really the tank killer of the German army, and it was obsolete by 1942 and 43. So they really needed to get a better tank. So they developed the Panther alongside the Tiger, and it first saw action in 1943. I believe, I want to say in Kursk. It's when it was first introduced, but I could be wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. It was used in Kursk, by great extent it was used in Kursk. I think like that Germans had a couple hundred of these in Kursk, so not that many. But by 1944, 1945, they had thousands of these in Normandy, in Belgium, and Poland, and for example the Warsaw Uprising and whatnot. They had a ton of these. And this was used from basically that, from 1943 to the end of the war. They were very effective tanks. They had a 75 millimeter high velocity gun that could pretty much penetrate the armor of any tank out there that the Allies had. And this tank was very scary. There's stories of this thing shooting through a Sherman tank to hit another one that was hiding behind it, which, is... yeah, that kind of gives you an idea of how powerful this gun is. Of course, the Germans could not win the war, though, for the simple reason that they couldn't produce these things in a mass like the Allies could produce their tanks. Because, of course, Germany had issues with resources. They were running low on, parts to make tanks, and also the factories were getting bombed. So it was very difficult to keep these things running. And, of course, they had the problem with gasoline and with oil. They couldn't get these tanks anywhere because Germany was running low on oil in 1944-45. Very famously, German tanks, during the Battle of the Bulge, for example, being abandoned after, wasting all their fuel. The Germans would just abandon them and leave them there, and sitting on the side of the road or something. So this model is a very nice representation of the Panther. It is the 7th model of the Panther that Brickmania has made, and actually just very recently, I think yesterday, Brickmania just released the new Panther with the Panther AUSF.G, something like that. I can't remember. They released the early model of the Panther, so the one that would have been used in Kursk, and that version has stickered camouflage, which looks cool, but honestly, I prefer this version. This is the 7th model of the Panther. This is the AUSF.G version, so this is the final model of the Panther in ambush camouflage, which is done in brick. And honestly, I prefer the brick build camo. I think it looks a lot better than the stickered camo, just because it looks more Lego-like. It looks more Not saying, of course, the sticker camo is bad, but it looks more Lego-esque. So I suppose you should go over some of the features of the tank. It comes with, hold on if I just zoom in here. Now, the tank, as you can see, you've probably noticed, some of the more eagle-eyed viewers, that I did not, this thing goes for $375, which is a stupid amount of cash. But I did not pay $375 for this tank. What I did, if I just go and grab it, I really should have brought it sooner. But I used this here. This is the Battle of the Bulge instruction manual by Brickmania. And that includes a ton of instructions. If I just move this out of the way here. It includes a ton of instructions for all sorts of World War II models, and it includes the instructions for the Panther. If I could find them. So as you can see, it includes the instructions for the Panther. So I just used that instruction manual to build this tank. And it even comes with like the stickers and everything that you need for the guys and for the tank itself. So that's pretty cool. And I built this tank using parts that I ordered from Bricklink. So the price was much lower than say if I ordered parts from Lego, because the parts are not brand new, they were used, but they were still in good quality, good condition, should I say. And it cost me only $100, which I know is a ton of money, but damn, is it better than $375. Pretty sure if you, $100 versus $375, most people are going to pick $100. So, yeah. Let's take a look at some of the only thing, and it's pretty much identical to what you would have got if you bought the model itself. The only thing that's not are the figures. The figures are stickered. They use the sticker decals that the instruction manual provides. If I could just zoom in. If I could just focus on the figures. Yeah. So you get arm, front, and back. So that's pretty cool. If you bought this tank, like the proper one for full price, you would get printed guys with much better, detail. They would be printed on the legs and everything. So yeah, there's that. But honestly, it's just, but that doesn't bother me too much, because you could still buy these guys from Brickmania.com, because they occasionally will restock these .44 Panzer wrap guys. So let's take a look at some of the features of the tank. So first of all, we have the obvious hatches. We have the commander's hatch, which can open and close like that. We have the driver's hatch like that, which can open and close, and we have the gunner's hatch, again, open and closes. The gun can rotate. Well, there's a bit of a problem. Yeah, the gun can rotate 300. Well, almost 360 degrees. The antenna kind of blocks it, but yeah, it does rotate. And the gun can elevate a little bit, which it can't really go down, but it can elevate a fair amount, which I think is actually the realistic elevation setting. It's got an MG here, which is supposed to be an MG34, just represented by this little tube piece. Got an MG42 in here, which, if you bought this kit, it would not be an MG42, it would actually be an MG34. The reason I used an MG42 is because, for some odd reason, when I went to order, the brick arms to make this, they had sold out on the MG34, so I had to buy the 42s. I mean, it's not too inaccurate. They had MG42s on their Panthers, so it's not like stupidly inaccurate or anything like that. So, that's cool. It's got very nice detail. As you can see, we got the little mallet on the side of the tank. We have a little axe on the other side. Track links, spare tracks in case the, tracks get blown off. And, yeah, it's really cool. We have the little engine vents, which are represented by stickers. I believe these would have been printed if you bought this kit itself, but honestly not a big of a deal. The engine compartment can actually open, so if I just... Oh, sorry for that cut, guys. It appears my camera has died, which is a bit of a shame, but I fixed it, so hopefully we don't run into any more complications during this video. What I was about to say is that this thing here has an opening engine compartment, and the antenna just fell off. Actually, that's good, because that makes it less hard to open it. As you can see, in there, I don't know if you're going to be able to see the engine, but we got two little nubs here, and then we got some, I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but a little bit of some like gray bits in there. So yeah, that's really cool that they actually has an opening engine compartment. That's always a feature that a lot of the more expensive, high-end Brickmania tanks can include, because of course they can have a bigger budget to do that. And another feature that I really like about this tank, that in my opinion makes it feel more like a tank, it actually has working suspension, which is really cool. That's achieved with a couple of Technic pieces, and it makes it feel more like a tank. So if I just grab the book, move this stuff out of the way here, and I put the tank over it, as you can see, the treads actually, suspend against the, as you can see, it actually does look, it has working suspension. And the tracks that this thing uses are not the Brickmania track links, but the actual Lego track links, which in my opinion work fine. They look great on this thing. And it doesn't roll very well on a smooth surface, but on a carpet, it rolls a lot better. It rolls very nicely on a carpet. So that is fairly nifty. And a piece just fell off. Let me just put that back together. But in my opinion, the best feature of this tank involves, first of all, taking off the turret. So we just take that off. It's held, as you can see, it's kind of held together by just some Technic pins, or axle pieces, should I say. And then we pull the hull off. And that gives us access to the interior of the tank. So that gives us, first of all, a better look at the engine. And they also have, as you can see in here, if I could just zoom in a little bit, the driver's seat and then the gunner's seat. So that's really cool. And you can fit them in there. It's a very tight squeeze, but they do fit. And another thing that I think is really cool is if you pay attention here, it's a very minute thing, but it's so cool that they actually added that in. If you look, I don't know what to call these pipe pieces that are part of the engine, they actually connect, they link up almost perfectly to the actual engine exhaust ports. So it's very realistic the way this works. So as you can see, they kind of link up to the exhaust ports of the engine. So in my opinion, that's awesome. It's just a really nice feature. It's stuff like that that kind of shows how Brickmania cares about their stuff. It's just such a cool thing. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the tank. I don't think there's any other features that are notable. It's got a very long barrel, which curiously, one thing I think I should point out is I just think it's interesting. Not just so much in the Panther, but any tank really that has one of these really long barrels that are actually longer than the hull itself, is that on wooded areas, the tank, if, say for example, there's a tank right behind you and you want to aim your gun, whereas if say there's a tree in the way, you can't. So yeah, these tanks are a little bit more limited on like wooded areas or just really tight streets or anything, because then you can't aim your gun all the way through. So I just figured that it was a little interesting fact about this tank. So yeah, this is a really cool tank. Oh god, that was the phone. Sorry about that. I figured as a little interesting. So just to kind of give you an idea of how big this tank is, I'll bring in two other Brickmania tanks. So here is the T-34 I reviewed a while ago. As you can see, sort of a side-by-side comparison. You see how big the Panther actually is. So yeah, it's a huge tank. It is really big. So that's really cool. It's accurate to the actual tank itself, because even though it's a big ass tank, it's a medium tank. And then here is a Japanese tank, the Type 97 Shinhoto Chiha. And again, just see it completely dwarfs my Japanese tank. So that's really cool. That is really, really cool. And that's pretty much all the Panther is. Now, the big, I don't really have any complaints with the model itself. The model itself is really nicely done. The only thing I would say that is against the model is the price. That's my biggest complaint. I think that Brickmania kits, for the most part, are fair, have a fair price. Like the price is fair, considering that they have to order all the parts and everything from Lego. That takes time and costs money and all that. But I think that even this is a little too expensive. So if you can find this kit on eBay for cheaper or something, get it. The best way, in my opinion, to get this kit is just getting the instruction manual and then getting all the parts for it, because it cost me $100 when in reality it would cost me $375 if I bought the actual one from Brickmania. And I think that this kit isn't worth the price of $300. I think it's really expensive. If it was like $200, I'd probably be a little bit more fairly priced. But honestly, it's if you can get this kit for cheap, you know, like using the instruction manual, then it's totally worth it. I'd say this is a must-have kit for any World War II collector out there, because it's just an iconic tank, a very nice, faithful representation of such iconic tank. And one more thing I want to talk about is whether this is a playable model or a display model. A playable model being a model that's, you know, stable enough you can play with it, you know, or a display model, you know, something that's really fragile and is really meant for display. I think that this model, it is fairly durable. I don't really have any problems. The only problem I find sometimes is the gun falls off, but that's, you know, common for a lot of tank toys. But even though it is fairly stable, like, you can play with this no problem, but the thing is that I would probably say that this is it was more intended for collectors, just the way that, you know, just because of all the features it has with the opening hatches and everything. I think it's better made as a display model. But yeah, that is my review of the Brickmania Panther tank. A great tank overall, but hurt by the massive, massive price. Anyways, I hope you guys liked this video. Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.